Okay, next up, we are looking at Pete Whittingslow, I guess a new addition to the storageauctions.com team. We've got he is going to update us on what we need to know about joining online auctions. And if any time is the time to join to start doing your auctions online, I would think that this is it. So anyway,
Yeah.
you ready? Got your audio?
I am ready. Can you hear me?
I can.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. Really looking forward to it. So I've got my audio. That's good. Let me go ahead and share my screen and make sure you guys can all see that, and then we'll get it rolling.
Perfect.
So here. Should be able to see my screen. Do you see my presentation? Shelly, can I ask you before I get rolling?
Yes, I see your presentation, and then you are over to the right under the video section. So we can see you and your presentation. You're good to go.
You should be able to see just like the front screen now, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So, and if you see me, just as a heads up for you and everybody listening in right now, if you see me looking over to the right the whole time, I've got it on my second monitor. So I promise I'm not watching TV in the background. So really looking forward to it. Again, my name is Pete. I'm with storageauctions.com. We're an online auctions website. Really excited to speak with you guys today. You may be familiar with our president. His name is Lonnie Bickford. He's been in the industry a long time. He's an operator as well as the president of this company. So the site was actually built from him being an operator. So definitely have a lot of knowledge within the company regarding auctions specifically and operations. So chaos to control, the whys and hows of online auctions. And I know Stan just did a great job of talking about lean sales during this Corona world that we live in, but I'll make sure to hit on that. But wanted to just go over, what it is, how it works, and some reasons why we feel like it could be beneficial for you now, especially, and just in general. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Chaos to control. First things first, what is chaos when you think of it? Now more than ever, the word has probably been used more, I would say, in the last 2 months than probably the last couple of years. But you can see right there, random, disorder, pandemonium, that's a fun one, train wreck, all hell broke loose. Those are some strong statements, but with auctions, you want to have a streamlined process, just like the rest of your operations. And sometimes there are some things that can get out of your control where online auctions can help with that. So wrangling that in, giving you guys a streamlined process and, turning that into a controlled thing that you have every month and getting some predictability. So turning in the chaos of an auction day into a controlled process, like I just said. So I live in Baton Rouge, and if you can imagine, my days are normally filled with the top left of the umbrella or the bottom right with the guy sweating his butt off. So you guys, in Missouri, you get the full spectrum. So I imagine you're looking at all these different images right now and saying, well, I can kind of relate to all of them throughout the state. And especially the one in the middle, not to come off insensitive to everything going on in the Corona climate. It's definitely an incredibly difficult time, but it's added some chaos to our operations, to our lives, to our world. So, these are all things that play into effect, and I'll share a funny story with you really quickly. So you see on the bottom left, a hurricane, obviously. Hurricane isn't what bred our site, but our president, Lonnie Bickford, he was having an auction one day here in Baton Rouge, and there was a terrible storm, which he probably could have guessed because they're like once a week. But it was a terrible storm. Auction results were awful. Nobody showed up. He goes down the street to one of his competitors and say, "Hey, I saw you were having an auction. How'd you do?" "Oh, I did fine. We did great." "So how did you do great?" "It was raining cats and dogs." I said, "Oh, we did it online." And then it went from there. So as you can see, all these things can encapsulate different reasons to create a little chaos. But this is where as you can see, Stop the Madness. This is one of my favorite shows. So any chance I have to plug Mr. Wonderful, you can avoid all that now. You can stop the madness, and let's talk about how we can make your auctions process a little better. So first things first, why go online? Why even consider it? And go over some of the reasons why. So first things first, no need to wait until 3 to 4 units for your auction to now be quote unquote worth it. Whereas if any of you guys listened in have ever had an auction before, a live auction, if you've only got 1 unit, your turnout's not going to be the same as if you have a dozen. And that's common sense. Whereas with online now, it doesn't matter. You can create a standardized process, whether you have 1 unit, 4 units, 10 units, whatever that is. You can now follow a process or implement it to your staff, whereas you're going to get those consistent results because your bidder base is there. Whereas someone may not spend their Saturday to come for 1 unit. They may still see that unit at home when they're browsing, in the evening. So no need to wait for unit amounts. Reach thousands of bidders. There's a couple you'll see that I have highlighted in red because I feel it's really important to highlight now more than ever. With what's going on in the world, you still want to reach a large crowd, and common sense, online is going to reach more people. I imagine a couple people, if you're like me, you've probably ordered some groceries online in the last month. You've probably ordered a couple things that you probably never have before online. I know I certainly have. But you can still reach that bidder base. So online, and you can literally reach thousands. That's not a typo. You'll reach thousands of bidders throughout your state and your community. Higher average sales price. There are studies, and we can certainly provide that data as well that show that a higher average sales price on your units. So if you've got a unit that went for X amount with a live auction, it typically goes for higher online. And the other factors will play into it, like the amount of people that are now viewing it, or less of a collusion, which I'll get to. Follow the same process as your as a live auction would. This is something that I've been asked a few times. One of the first questions I get asked is, well, is it even legal? Well, yes, it is legal. You'll follow the same steps that you already are, in which I believe we just went over a little bit in the last presentation from the Masters Law Firm. But yes, same process. I'll dig into that. So it's not having to reinvent the wheel, essentially. Avoid chaos and liability. I've had a couple owners who've switched to online, and they told me, I want to limit the liability on my store. I don't want the potential for someone to slip and fall. I don't want a large crowd. I don't want 20 people going through my bathroom on Saturday. You can avoid that altogether and avoid the people that are on there and any kind of problems that may happen in your parking lots. Just avoid that altogether. Now more than ever, of course, avoid large crowds on your property. Obviously this is something that's probably been brought up or you've talked about or thought about more than ever in the last month. So I don't need to beat a dead horse necessarily, but now you only have the winners on your property. So if you have 5 units, you have 5 winners coming at different times rather than whatever the amount that you were getting at your live auction. So avoid the chaos and liability, avoid the large crowds, have a little fun with it. Marketing efforts done by us to drive results. I saw there was a question earlier to the law firm, someone asking where they needed to post their advertising because they use AuctionZip. Whoever that was, it's awesome. You guys are using AuctionZip and taking the initiative on your auctions. We certainly do that as well. We have a whole list of sites that we market to, including Google paid. We've even have our secret sauce that we feel helps us stand apart in terms of how we marketing. Long story short, when you go with online auctions, your provider should be providing that marketing for you. So literally once you upload it, you let them do the work for you, similar to how if you were to sell your coffee cup on your desk right now on eBay, you let eBay's bidder base, eBay's marketing do that for you. So no bidder collusion. This really comes into play when you're evaluating live versus online, because if you've got a live auction and if you guys have done a live auction and you've done quite a few, you probably know what I'm talking about. If 2 people are standing there and they're the only 2 people there, or for whatever reason, there's nothing stopping them from, leaning back and saying, you know, I'll take the furniture if you take the electronics. And now they're in control of the bidding for that unit. You know, I'll give you $50. Well, there's 2 TVs in here. This isn't $50. But they're in control. You know, they're in control because they're the ones there on property and they're working together. Whereas you can avoid that. It's anonymous bidding. Literally think about if you wanted to buy that coffee cup on eBay right now, you have to bid fair and square against the rest of the field who wants that coffee cup. And that can avoid that collusion or working together on units. This was one that actually a customer brought to me, and you know, just I felt kind of silly for not thinking of it myself, but a better customer experience. So why go online? What about the time when you've got 10, 15, 20 people on your lot right now for a live auction? You've got the parking lot full, you've got trailers, but then your paying tenant comes. You know, then your paying tenant who just wants to get to his or her unit, you know, is following everything as they should. They've now got to see that, experience that, maybe even worse, try to fight their way through that. It could just be something that could be avoided. You know, you want to give kind of that streamlined, professional, clean look at your property all the time. And it can potentially give off an experience that a tenant may not care for, you know, if they're having to fight through a large crowd or see that. So something you could think about or avoid as well. Let's see here. Success in any weather condition. If we go back to my first photo, I think you guys in Missouri, you hit all ends of the weather spectrum. So we don't have to worry about snowstorms here in Baton Rouge. So we don't have to worry about that one. But you guys get a couple more months into the summer. You may not want to be outside when you're auctioning off your 10 units. You may not want to have to pull a manager off and go do that. It may be raining. You don't have to worry about that. You know, any weather condition, have your auction, do it consistently, and you're going to be good to go. And ultimately, you know, you're going to put the pros and cons in your favor. So what I mentioned earlier is when you think of a live auction, the bidder has a lot of the pros when you evaluate, say, pros and cons. They have a lot of the pros because they know they're one of only so many people there. They have a better control over the pricing, or they may be able to negotiate with you, say, a little harder. There's just a lot of things that are out of your control when that happens. Whereas when it's an online auction, you are still in control. Those are things that have been taken away where now you have more control over the outcome, or trust in your auctions partner for that matter to do the proper auctioning, the proper marketing, and get those results. Cool. So why go online? And as I'm going through this right now, guys, I can feel that I'm going to have plenty of time here at the end for questions. So feel free to fire away as we go along. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to get to them at the end. So anything on this slide or any slide to come, please let me know. So how does it work? Let's assume that you've signed up. And as I talked about earlier, online auctions, you follow the same legal process as before. So with Missouri, you know, there are the laws that are in place. I've got a copy of the state laws right here. You're cutting your locks and you're photographing units. I'll get to photos here shortly, but can't reiterate enough the importance of taking those photos. I'll really dig into that. But cut locks and photograph units. Send your letters. Of course, in Missouri, we have 2 letters that you have to send out. Every state's a little different. So just make sure if you work with an auctions partner that they're familiar with your state and your laws, and their system can accommodate, you know, the legality of your auctions. So send in those letters, post in your legal notice. That's the advertisement, which the advertisement must be listed 7 days before the sale, according to the state laws and what Stan and the Masters Law Firm mentioned earlier. You can set your own rules. So this is where you can have that flexibility over your auctions. Some of the best practices that I'll state with you here are a 72-hour cleanup. So if someone wins an auction right now while you and I are on this call together, they would have 72 hours to come pay you for the unit and to clean out the unit. They would have 72 hours from then. We have customers who have done 48 hours. We have customers who have even done 24 hours, and that's a pretty tight window. Typically, we got to be really, really clear with our auction instructions, which we can and do. But yeah, 72 hours is most common. No dumpster privileges. You know, just if you don't have a dumpster, no problem, but some, if you do, just making sure that that thing isn't getting flooded. And then a cleaning deposit is one to consider. So what a cleaning deposit does is they hand you $100, whatever amount that you can imagine. They clean out the unit entirely. You want them to clean the unit, you know, sweep clean, and then you hand the money right back to them. So that ensures they clean the unit. If they don't, they lose their deposit. So if that happens ever, just, I'm sure other online operators are similar to us as well. That person their account is suspended as well. You know, very, very strict on the rules. We want to make sure that operators, you guys have a streamlined process that you can trust. So if that ever happens, you know, you keep the deposit and we take care of them from a blocking side on the site. Post event before your newspaper ad runs. What I'm saying right here is, for example, with Missouri, you have to run your advertisement 7 days before the sale. So there's a 7-day window right there. Instead of the 7 days passing and then doing your auction and then launching it, you can actually have them at the same time as long as the auction end date is past that legal time frame. So for example, if your auction needed to run from May 1st to May 8th, you know, that's when your newspaper ad is running. That's when all the sale dates have been May 8th. Well, you can run your advertisement runs 7 days before the sale. You can run your online auction at the same time. It just can't happen beforehand. So for example, if your advertisement is running from May 1st to May 7th, you can't have your auction on May 6th, but you could have it afterwards. You can have them running simultaneously to get the best use out of that time. You get the use out of those 7 days. So now you're not adding days on top of each other. You just got to make sure it happens after the legal time frame is passed, so you are legally compliant. So if you have any questions around that, feel free to shoot a question over, and we'll make sure to knock that out as well. But that's how it works. Let's see here. Keys to online auction success. So hopefully I'm not going too fast for you guys so far. If I am, please, you know, fire away the questions. More time to chat about it at the end. I can backtrack easily. Keys to online auction. So first and foremost, it's all about the pictures. If any of you guys are trying to get Instagram famous, or I think the new one out there is TikTok, which never been on it, never will be. Those of you that may not be social media savvy like I'm not, but you do know good pictures go a long way. And that is 100% the case with online auctions. So going back to that coffee mug that you sell on eBay, if you wanted to buy that coffee mug, say you want to get a new coffee mug, you go to Amazon, you go to eBay, you go wherever. If the photos are blurry on Amazon, probably not going to buy it, you know. And that's not to say that someone may not bid on and win your unit, but what I mean is if you can take clear photos, it really pulls them in. You know, the essence of bidding on storage units is these bidders are looking for gold. You know, they're looking for, you know, there's that guitar in there that they think they can profit off of, or they think they can accumulate everything in here for this much and get that much. If you've seen Storage Wars, the TV show, you get it. They got that little tally down on the bottom, paid for value. Now those values on the TV show can get a little crazy, I think, but you get the point. So take great photos. If you've got your phone in your hand right now, you want to turn your phone like this. If you can see me right now on my little screen, it's always a great idea just to go into landscape mode. Takes clear photos, takes 7+ when you can. Of course, if you roll a unit up and the only thing in there is a mattress, don't need all angles of an old mattress. You don't need 7 photos of it. But what you can do is if you open it up and it's full unit, we always recommend that the first one gets a full photo of the unit in its entirety. So you can almost see the outer rim of the unit, you know, the paneling. So that way a bidder can get an idea of how big it is, how full it is. A lot of customers will actually have the unit number in that photo just for organization. But and then after that, you really can dig into the details. So if there's a set of tires in the back, or a tool shed, or some crazy thing that you and I wouldn't pay $5 for. Those are my favorite, when they call in and they say, hey, should I take a picture of this thing back in the corner? It looks like junk. Yes, take a picture for it. Before you know, that thing sold for $90, and we don't even know what it is. But the old saying, one man's trash is another man's treasure. So take great photos when you can. Be thorough. Break it up into quadrants. Take individual photos. I'm not necessarily saying pull things out, in case that's a question someone's typing in right now. I have heard like Scott Zucker and others of the world say if something needed to be moved, it can. That's from a lawyer, not necessarily from me, as long as it's going back. The overall majority of our customers, though, they'll stand at the edge and they'll take photos of everything they need and, get in the nooks and crannies from standing there. But typically what I hear is most tenants aren't moving stuff around and not opening boxes. I've never seen that really go well, but, just take great photos where you can. 10 to 14 day auctions yield the highest results. Again, crunching the data, seeing, what can drive the best auction results for you to recover that lost revenue. This is part of your collections process. So you do want to get the most you possibly can. You're trying to recover bad debt, and now more than ever, probably we want to get as much as we can. So 10 to 14 days typically do the best, which it can get really important when you're compounding those days with your newspaper ad. So you've got your 7-day newspaper ad, adding that in, it's only additional 3, 4, 5 days now instead of an ad, then 14 days. So 10 to 14 days for your auction when you can. If you don't, we're still going to give you everything we can under the sun in the time frame you choose. That's not mandatory, just recommended. Auction consistency. This is you'll really kind of hit your groove if you really adopt online auctions, because one, you'll notice that you can have auctions now with only 1 or 2 units. You're not having to wait necessarily for them to build up. So you can start putting a plan together, and you can start consistently having auctions every month, whether it be 1 unit or 10 units. And then on top of that, your online auction provider, like say storageauctions.com, for example, we're marketing your units, we're working hard, we're growing your bidder base on top of what we may already have in your community. But if you keep having auctions, we're going to keep fueling it as well. But the bidders are going to see that. They're going to now see that ABC Storage is having auctions every month now. So they're going to know to go look. They're going to go look and see there, or have an expectation, or they've won a unit with you before. They're going to have a general time clock that at the end of next month there may be another. And it just helps create consistency with your bidder base as well. Avoid office closures. Really, this could come into effect like if you're closed on Sundays, or if you have any unique office hours. Holidays is another one. So if you're going to be closed for 24, 48 hours, let's maybe try to avoid that time if you can, unless you have the ability for them to get in, automated way, whether it be them paying via credit card, which is possible, giving them an access code, which is possible. We have a lot of customers which are totally unmanned, and they're able to facilitate that, and we'd be happy to help. But if you can, avoid those office closures. And then stand strong on your process. This is something that I think we're all kind of taking with a grain of salt right now with everything going on in the world. But if we imagine that it was a normal life, staying strong on that process just helps create consistency. It helps your tenants, your bidders, your buyers, everyone under the sun know what your business is about and what that auction process is going to look like. So again, that kind of goes hand in hand with auction consistency, but standing strong on that. Okay, so for this time frame, the Masters Law Firm just spoke on it, and appreciate them covering that as well. Stay up to date with your state and federal restrictions. It's a constantly changing climate. It really is. And Missouri, I believe when I checked earlier, there was nothing strictly prohibiting that. But again, like I said, it's a changing climate. I have looked at, like, the Self Storage Association. They have a document that's always updating state by state, and I routinely look at that. But unless restrictions are imposed, what I've heard other people say, and other, lawyers within the industry or counsel, is it's a business decision, which it is. This is a business decision that you get to make for yourself. You know, there are, of course, the factors that go into play. You know, some may mention publicity, some may mention other factors as well. And those are things for you as an operator to consider. You know, for me as an online auctions company, of course, you know, there's less auctions now than there were 2 months ago. But hey, you know, these are business decisions that people are making in the state of the world right now. You know, can see that. So, but at the end of the day, it's your business decision. Stay up to date with your letters is one thing to consider, though. You know, a lot of our customers that we've worked with who may have recently postponed their auctions, they're looking at getting back to normal necessarily. You know, they're looking to getting the ball rolling again. But it starts with those letters. It starts with giving updated timeframes, updated dates, updated letters. So if I just throw out some easy timeframes, if you know that you want to begin an auctions in June, then you need to get the ball rolling no later than probably early May, to make sure that you can facilitate that. You know, with you have 2 demand letters in the state of Missouri, and each, I believe, has a 10-day window. You know, you've got to make sure that you follow this process. So when you get to June, you can do that, or April to May, May to June, whatever that is. Make sure you're staying up to date so you can follow that. Are the units abandoned? That's something that's been asked a lot, and not necessarily because of Corona, but just in general. Is this unit, it's delinquent, but is it abandoned? Was it delinquent before Corona? You know, is this a unit where they stopped paying you in January, February, you know, which had nothing to do with what's going on in the world? That's not me giving you my answer. That's just me telling you what other customers have asked us and told us to consider. And if you do choose to have auctions right now, some of the best practices that our customers are following is call the winning bidder as soon as the auction ends to coordinate that pickup. That's a good practice regardless, but, you know, just making sure that someone's there, that you have, you know, if you know generally you're a facility that gets most of its tenant traffic around noon, maybe ask that person if they could come in the afternoon. You know, just playing a little strategy with your foot traffic. Take payment via credit card if you can. You know, we certainly have the ability to help you facilitate that. If your systems allow it, you can coordinate that with them over the phone. We can make sure it's very obvious within your auctions. And another one, you know, coordinating with the winner for no extra guests. You know, if they want a 10 by 10 that's just filled top to bottom, most times it's not going to be one person who shows up, and that's, maybe you still want to be a little bit more accommodating, but you know, at least have that conversation. Hey, it's a 5 by 5 that had one thing in there. Is it possible that you could come by yourself? You know, given the state of everything going on, you'd be surprised at how understanding everyone is right now if you just talk to them. It goes back to that, making that phone call. And then if anything is exchanged, just make sure it's sanitized. You know, that's nothing you guys probably aren't hearing every aspect of your life right now, but just making sure that you're taking the precautions to keep yourself and your tenants and the winning bidders, you know, keep you guys safe and clean, and, you know, go from there. So if you're going to do an auction, personally, I'm drinking from the Kool-Aid, but, you know, online auctions could be a great alternative for you right now. I can't speak for all the people out there right now, but I do know, like our site and others, they don't have sign-up costs. So if you're speaking with other providers, talk through that with them, even if it's a short-term situation, if you want to just do them now and then go back to live auctions in the past. But, you know, if you guys are anything like me, you've probably ordered groceries for the first time. You've probably done a couple things during Corona online for the first time that you may not have done before. And I may not go back, you know, I may be ordering groceries online forever now that I've tried it. So let me check now. That's all I got for you guys. Again, I really appreciate your time. Let me see. I would guess I may have had a question or two come through. So let me see.
Yeah, Pete, we had several questions pop up on the chat and the Q&A. So I know one of them from Nicholas Bowman. Can you post short videos of the unit instead of 7+ pictures?
We personally don't have videos like on our website. There is another site out there that does do videos. We personally do not. We feel that just from what we see scrolling through photos, the ability to zoom in, versus taking a video, whether they're pausing the video, then zooming in on the video and everything of that nature, we've made the decision not to. I mean, it's totally possible, but we've just found, over the thousands and thousands and thousands of auctions that photos do a little better, or else you would probably see videos, on eBay and things like that. But so it's out there, but like our personal site does not.
Okay. We got another one from board member Mike Powers. Do you recommend numbered tags to limit questions about faulty tampering?
We have hundreds of customers who use tags, and we actually have those and can provide them. So again, if I drink my Kool-Aid for a quick second, if you were to use, a site like us, and I know other providers probably do it as well, but they should be able to provide those to you. So if you want to use tags, you can do that. You can take a photo of it, and then that would be necessarily one of the 7 or 8 photos that you had, and it would just give that bitter confidence of the unit. So yes, not mandatory. It's not legally mandatory. It's not mandatory to use the site, or I don't think any site for that matter. But if wanted, we got you.
Cool. Okay, I got a couple more here. Can you refuse to sell to someone trying to buy their own unit?
Sure. So we've certainly come across that situation, and what I've seen from operators is they clearly define that in their auction rules. So if you notice, like a couple slides back when I said you could set your own rules, like we have a couple customers who are 50, 60 locations across multiple states, so they've got a big list of rules, and some of them are it's typically written, if you are connected to or associated to this unit, we reserve the right to not allow your bid or purchase of this unit. So you do have the ability to put that in your auction rules, and us as your provider, I'm and all others, I'd imagine, will help you follow that. So what I would recommend is, if you do want to do that, just put it in your auction rules. Just put it in there when you build out your auction rules. It's in there, and it's in all of your units moving forward. So you can reserve that right if you'd like.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that is so basically you can put, I guess, any of your stipulations and specifications inside your auction rules, and they're posted for every auction that you have. Okay.
And what you can do as well, if you'd like, just for anyone who's curious about that, is you can ask your provider, hey, can you show me some rules or some literature that maybe some other facilities or maybe similar size portfolios do. But you could always just go on the websites and check, whether it's ours or another one, whoever you're working with, you can see because it's on the site, it's within each unit. So you can get a quick reference right there too.
Okay. 2 questions from Brett Atkins. In regards to posting the ad for the classified ad, if the online auction has a start date and an end date, when is it required to post the ad? 7 days before start date or 7 days before end date?
So if I look at like the Missouri lien law, you have to post the advertise 7 days before the sale. So the sale is at the end date. Hopefully that helps, and kind of pull that question into some clarity right away. The end date is the sale date. So that's where I mentioned you want to line your auction end date up as long as it satisfies the legal advertisement requirement. So if you post your auction today, but your auction end date and the legal advertisement end date aren't for 2 weeks from now, that's fine. You just need to make sure that that end date satisfies the legal compliance with with your state, and your website provider should be able to do that. I know, like, for example, our site, you can fill in the date you ran your newspaper ad, and it can cross-reference it with your auction end date just to make sure that you're good there. So you can ask that question with another provider if you are talking to them, but yes, just it's the end date that's important. Hopefully I answered that right or clearly.
I think so. That's the way I read it. Okay, we've got a question from Renee. How about casts that bid on units so they don't have to public auction what they owe? How about customers that bid on? Okay, I think we already answered that one. Sorry. Let's see.
Right to not allow bids from them.
Yeah. Okay, and that would just go back to being in your auction rules, right?
Yep.
Okay. Cool. Best practice on clean out deposit from auction winners. He'd like you to provide information on the best practice on clean out for deposit from auction winners.
That's a great question, Brett. You can definitely do a variable scale, and I have seen that. So again, going back into those auction rules, these are things that we can put in stone for you where they auto-populate for your auctions. And again, I'm sure it's the same across any auction provider, but if you have, say in your auction rules, you've got a little tier, and you can list out any unit one with a sale price of $0 to $100 will require a $50 cleaning deposit. Any unit with sold from $100 to $500 is a $200. Like, you get what I'm saying? You can come up with that tier, and we do have customers who have done that to do exactly what you've said. So if someone wins a $1,500 unit, $100 deposit is a drop in their bucket respectively to the amount for that unit. So definitely recommend considering that. That's a really good question, but then you can just figure out what that math works for you and makes you comfortable, and then just put it in your rules.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, I think that wraps up all the questions. I think I got to everyone's.
And that says exactly what information needs to be in that ad. Just to jump on that really quickly, and that ad as far as the newspaper advertisement. So I have the actual lien law pulled up for Missouri today, just to be a direct guide to it. And it says advertise the time, place, and terms of the sale in a newspaper of general circulation in the jurisdiction where the sale is to be held. So time, place, and terms. Time is obviously whatever you have your auction end date. If we imagine you're doing an online auction, so you have your time, your location. Almost every customer say auctions will be held on, in this instance, storageauctions.com. Or, if it was a live auction, you'd say auction will be held at, your physical address. The only difference in online auctions is you put your website URL right there. And then the terms of the sale, you can put those in there. Typically we'll see, you can put the clean out period or anything else that you see fit from a terms perspective. So those can go in there. And then typically what I see as well in most newspaper advertisements is they'll put some sort of the unit number and maybe a brief description as well. It's not specifically written in this from what I'm seeing, but yeah, time, place, and terms.
Okay. All right. That was great information, Pete. We really appreciate it. You have anything else you want to say to wrap up before I guess we have a few minutes to take a break before Warren Dazio with Cost Segregation Services joins us?
Just thank you everybody for the time. You see my contact information right here on the right. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, reach out to any of us at the team. Again, I know us as well as probably everybody out there is being really accommodating during the time, this Corona madness. So Let me know where I can help. Happy to do so. And thank you, Shelly, for letting me be a part of it.
You bet. Thanks, Pete. Tell
All
Alana
right.
and Lonnie we said hello.
We'll see you at the next trade show when hopefully we can have one sooner than later.
Sooner than later, for sure. Thanks,
All
Pete.
right. See you guys.